you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
And overtime.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Raiders, Niners, Bay Area battle. Or was it? I'm going to tell y'all right now, this is going to be a very brief video. I don't have a lot of juice for this one. I told you that this was going to be a bad game. And there's only one thing worse than a game that you expect to be good and it turns out to be a dud, is a game that you expect to be trash and it turns out to be trash. You already didn't want to show up to watch, and then they give you that. And this is no fault of the San Francisco 49ers. They went out and did what they were supposed to do. It's the job of the Raiders to make this a competitive football game. They failed in that mission tonight, and I really don't have much words for the Oakland Raiders. They're a train wreck. They're a dumpster fire. They're trash. They're every adjective you could think of to describe something that is horrendous, and I can't tell if the players have quit or if they're just not good. Maybe there's a mixture of both in there, but what we saw tonight was horrible. It was horrid. And I'm not even a Raiders fan, so I could honestly care less. I could give two shits about what the Raiders do and how they go about their business, but I'm getting pretty sick and tired of watching John Gruden on the sideline look like he could give two shits. Like, he's almost resigned to the fact that his team stinks and they're going to go out and give a half-assed effort. You know, the old John Gruden would be steaming. I mean, up and down the sidelines, F-bomb this, F-bomb that. You know what he looks like to me? He looks like a old grandparent that got older, more mature, has calmed down a lot, and they're not the same. You know how when you were growing up, your mom or your dad, man, mom was a piece of work, man. Mom would cut you out at the drop of a hat. You know, you were getting ass whoopings for little to next to nothing. And then when you have kids and your mom becomes a grandma, now she's extra nice, and you're like, wait a minute, you weren't that nice to us. Where is this coming from? That's John Gruden right now. He used to be a raving lunatic on the sidelines. Now he's just like, another ass whooping. Hey, Gunther, what's going on out there? He used to dig in his coordinator's ass. Fix that shit. Now he's like, hey, Gunther, what's going on? That's the 14th straight drive a team scored on us. And Gunther's like, I don't know. He's like, oh, okay. If you don't care, I don't care. So this is going to be pretty goddamn quick. As a matter of fact, I'm done talking about the Raiders for the night. 49ers, I've already said what I've said a million times. Kyle Shanahan is an offensive genius. I told anybody that would listen this a long time ago. Everywhere he's went, great offense, not good, not solid, great offense has followed. It's just what he does. He gets it from his dad. He can run the football with the best of them. You saw it tonight, and I talked about this leading up to the game. If the Raiders can't stop the run, it's going to be a long night. Who draws it up? Who schemes it up? Who blocks it up better than a Kyle Shanahan coached offense? Nobody. Nobody. They run it. You stick any back you want in his backfield, they're going to run it. Raheem Mostert, even though he broke his arm tonight, and I feel for him because he was having a breakout game, it doesn't matter who you stick back there. Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida, who has heard of these guys before last year? Before last year, have you ever heard of Matt Breida? Have you ever heard of Raheem Mostert? Yet these guys are leading the league, average-wise, in yards per carry. Why? Because that's what Kyle Shanahan does. No one's afraid of the 49ers passing game, yet they're still ramming it down your throat. Good luck stopping them. And you saw it again tonight. And for a 49ers team that struggled to get pressure on the quarterback coming into the game, you damn sure couldn't tell tonight. And that offensive line of the Raiders, I know they're banged up, but that was pathetic. That was some pure team bullshit, what we saw tonight. Straight out of a comic book. Garbage. I mean, what the hell is Kelechi Osemele doing at left tackle any damn way? You pay him way too much money to be flip-flopping positions. Keep his ass at guard. Put somebody else in at tackle. That's when you know shit is going awry. When your guard is playing tackle and he's not a tackle. The 49ers dominated this game. Nick mother effing Mullins. Can you believe that? Nick Mullins. People. Introducing Nick Mullins. Go have yourself a night. Go have yourself a night. Boy, the Raiders are trash. Good for the 49ers, man. Good win. 34-3 over the Oakland Raiders. I'm going to take a couple comments, and we're going to get the hell out. I told you, I'm not spending a lot of time on this. I'm not. The 49ers destroyed the Oakland Raiders. I'm happy for Kyle Shanahan. I really am, because he's a good football coach. And I know it pains him. I watch him each and every week they lose. He agonizes over these losses. Because he's a really good coach. I really like Kyle Shanahan. I think they're going to turn things around in San Francisco before it's all said and done. He's going to turn things around. They get healthy. They figure out some things on defense. They're going to be just fine in San Francisco. Watch what I tell you. Give it some time. They've been ravaged by injuries this year. That's why they're not as competitive. And even with all the injuries, they're still competitive on a week-in, week-out basis. I'm a Kyle Shanahan guy. I told you, once a family member, always a family member. So I keep tabs on Sean McVay. I keep tabs on what Greg Williams is doing. I keep tabs on what Kyle Shanahan is doing. Why? Because that's family. And I know what Kyle is out there doing. So they're going to turn things around in San Francisco. I got confidence in Kyle. And I love John Lynch. It's crazy because John Lynch had never done anything in a front office capacity, yet I feel like they're compiling enough talent. I still think they've got work to do on the offensive side. I think they've got a lot of work to do at receiver. I think they've got a lot of work to do on this roster in general. They still could use some dynamic pass rushers. There's some holes in this roster, but they're fixing them slowly but surely. I like what they're building in San Francisco. It's going to take a little bit of a while because of the injuries. You would have loved to have seen, even if they struggled this year, even if it only amounted to 6 wins, you'd have loved to have seen Jimmy G get a full season of work and just grow with Kyle Shanahan in this offense. You would have loved to have seen, I would have loved to have seen Jimmy G just grow. Just grow. Whether they were wins or just grow. Now, he's going to take a step back because he's got to get back in there and he's got to get in the game and be able to get through adversity while still learning Kyle Shanahan's offense. Ask Matt Ryan. It took him 2 years in Shanahan's system to become an MVP candidate and ultimately win the MVP and take his team to the Super Bowl. The first year, everybody was saying, damn, Matt can't grasp this playbook. It's too big. It takes about 2 years with Kyle Shanahan. And now you've got to take another step backwards and you got to wait another year because I just don't think Jimmy G is going to be as comfortable as he should have been in essentially year 2.5 when he comes back. So anyway, let me get to some comments and we'll get the hell out of here, man. Like I said, I don't have much for you tonight. John Niner says, Kyle Shanahan, offensive wizard. Amen. I got Munson says, what a shit show for Oakland. I'm very surprised Carr is playing as bad as he is. Part of me thinks on a different squad, he could still be top half of starting quarterbacks in the league. Yeah, I think he could too. But I already told you, he doesn't want to get hit, you know, and his offensive line is trash, and there's really not much he can do. He didn't stand a chance tonight. And when you're bad, you do bad things. That first possession of the game, to me, was a microcosm of this Raiders season and things to come. It was foreshadowing what was to come in this game. They were moving the football down the field. They looked like they were well on their way to a touchdown, and then you get 2 straight penalties. 2 straight penalties. Derek Carr, this is when you know you're bad. There's one thing I can't stand is dumb football players. Like, that shit doesn't sit well with me. I can't wrap my brain around stupid football players. Derek Carr is running out of the pocket. It's one thing if you're a rookie. If Nick Mullins would have done this, I would have said, hey, Nick, come on, bro. You're not at Southern Miss anymore. Guys, throw that football out of bounds. And Nick's going to go, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. That was stupid. Derek Carr's been in the league 5 or 6 years now. Like, this shit is inexplicable. Like, I can't explain this for the life of me. You're out of the pocket. You're going to lose 2 yards on the play. Throw the goddamn ball out of... What are you doing stretching the fucking... Excuse my language. What are you doing stretching the ball up like you're doing? What are you doing? You just lost 2 yards. Throw the damn ball out of bounds. What are you, dumb? What do you don't understand about that? You thinking stretching the goddamn ball out in front of you is the right thing to do? You need to go wash your face and get your mind right. The hell is wrong with you? Now it's 2nd and 12. Why? 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 Then you get a holding penalty. Now it's 2nd and 22. Why? That's what bad football teams do. Anyway, Reese says, talk about Captain Insano style can of whoop ass. Man, to think I wanted this man to coach my team. Thought he was studying a modern game while he was away. You know what? You deserved him because you were begging for him. And I said, hey, man, Reed, be careful, bruh. Be careful. I'm not sure this is what you want. This ain't what you want. And you were gung-ho. You were steadfast in your belief in John Gruden. You better count your lucky stars you didn't get him. Reese says, the third-string quarterback that no one had ever heard of before today gave them the business, Luke. I know, man. That shit's frustrating. Got to be. Patrick Avellino says, was it me or did the Raiders just not play at all? No, it wasn't you. It wasn't you. You know what you saw. Ed says, Raiders trash. Indeed. Gregory Lightbody says, I'm nervous as hell for Julio Jones on Sunday, but happy to see. Ha ha. John Niner says, Raiders are taking for the #1 pick. What are they going to do with it? They got 3 first-round picks. What are you going to do with them? That's the question. It's okay to have all this draft capital and for you to have made all these moves to put you in a position to have all of these options. What are you going to do with them? That's the question. I got Munson says, let's just celebrate that we got this game over with and we are all in one piece, folks. I'm just glad we don't have to watch this again. Reese says, it raises the question, has John Gruden ever been all that good of a coach, or has he had great teams around him that made him look as such? I think he was once upon a time a much better coach. I can tell you this much. He knows the game of football. I don't think he has an eye for talent. That's my biggest problem with John. And that was my problem with him back in the day when he would go out and get 877 quarterbacks and barely be able to field an offensive team, but you know, his defense was so good in those days. I just think he's much more comfortable with veteran players. Like, he can't identify young talent. His job is to just coach up players that already get it. That's why he was so successful in Oakland, because they had a bunch of old guys in Oakland that knew how to play football, i.e. Tim Brown, Jerry Rice, Rich Gannon, Charlie Garner. These guys already knew how to play football. All he had to do was show up and show them his scheme, and they knew how to run it. But when you ask him to develop young talent and find young guys that know how to play this game, that's why he's running all the young guys out of town and replacing them with the Jordy Nelsons and the Doug Martins of the world. That's not a coincidence. He's more comfortable with those guys. He's more comfortable with Jared Cook Jr. at tight end than he is a young budding star like a O.J. Howard. He's uncomfortable with young players. He is. He just is. It's a fact. It's been that way forever. Gregory Lightbody says, remember when they said John Gruden was better than Jay Gruden? Well, John has a Super Bowl. So there's that. John Niner says, Jimmy G needs full season, but at the same time, we're 2 years away from being a good team. I just need him to just play. You know, experience is something you can't. You can take as many mental reps that you want. There's no substitute for just getting game experience. I just need Jimmy G to be on the field. He didn't play enough in New England, and he hasn't played enough in San Francisco, in Kyle Shanahan's offense. I just need him to be on the field. Reese says, Gruden doesn't care, Lou. You're right. He's laughing all the way to the bank. And that may be true. I mean, he's getting all you could ask for to do nothing right now. Stevie D says, Raiders just won the Joey Bosa sweepstakes. You may be right about that. J. Camman says, what the hell just happened? Nick Mullins just happened. Barcode says, at what point does the Raiders organization regret the Gruden hire? It's too late. You signed this man to a 10-year, $100 million contract. You can't back out of this even if you wanted to. First of all, the Raiders organization, they're broke. So they don't have money to be just wasting. So even after 4 years and $40 million, there's still 6 years and $60 million left on his contract. Like, you're not paying another coach to come in and still paying Gruden $10 mil per for the next 6 years. Like, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. That's the point. J. Camman says, I watched your podcast, and I thought you even said that the Raiders should pull this off due to Mullins, and then the opposite. I'm sick to my stomach, man. I really am. I'm sick to my stomach about that. Reese says, he has the same style of offense that he had in his last season with the Bucs with Jeff Garcia. I recognize some of the plays, and that is sad. I don't think the Amari Cooper trade had anything to do with it, J-Cam, man. They stunk before the trade. They stink after the trade. And Amari Cooper wasn't there last week against the Colts, and they didn't look like this. They didn't show up tonight, period. J-Cam Man says, wow, John Gruden, seriously? I knew he was bad, but wow, I can't wait to see how he screws up the 3 first-round picks. He will screw them up. Good luck, Vegas. 65,000 seats is a small stadium. The worst thing you could do is have no momentum going to Vegas. They got to turn things around next year, or it's going to be a shit show going to Vegas in 2020. Jabril Adibi says, I guess all of the Raiders are going to take their beautiful wives and go make some babies. I guess that's what they're going to do. I guess they got 14 days to do it now. They got this shit out of the way on a Thursday, so now they've got extra time to go home to their beautiful wives and make babies. So you're right. Absolutely. Stormtrooper says, second go around in Oakland has been one of the worst stretches for any NFL team. I can't remember a coach coming back to where he once was a coach. Because generally you only come back to where you were once a coach. You only come back there if the first time you were there, you were regarded in you were highly regarded. You were almost at legendary status. That's the only way you can come back and do it a second time. We hold you in such high regard that we'd love to have you back. So generally, when you come back that second time, you're not going to F it up. You may not be as good as you were the first time, but you're not going to fall flat on your face. Like when Joe Gibbs came back the second time around, he was nowhere near Joe Gibbs 1.0, but he still took the Redskins to the playoffs twice in 4 years, which before he got there, we were the laughingstock of the NFL. We were a joke. And even though he was there, we were still a joke because of Vinny Serrato, but we still won. Now, we had some last-ditch, backdoor, 5 in a row to get into the playoffs as a wild card type of playoff seasons, but they still were playoff seasons nonetheless. This is something else. I've never seen this before. Atlas says, so should I be getting excited for this Mullers guy or whatever? Well, first, his name is Mullins, all right? Second of all, no, you shouldn't. But if you're San Francisco, feels good to know that you got a guy that may be able to come in and run some stuff if, you know, your first 2 quarterbacks can't go. J.K. Man says, do you really think Nick Mullins is that good? No, I don't. I mean, there's one pass that he throws off his back foot blindly in the middle of the field where there are like 8 Raiders, and somehow my guy, and I told you about this on the podcast, all right, Kittle comes out of nowhere, one-hands it, and runs for about another 60 yards. That was luck, you know. But anyway, pick out a couple more and we'll get out of here. Ginger Callum says, glad I stuck with my 49ers pick. I wish I would have stuck with mine too. Gaming Angel says, the Raiders have 2 more primetime games left. I hope they flex them. If they're on Monday night, there's nothing we can do. But if they're on Sunday night, which they shouldn't be, they're probably on Monday, and we just got to suck them up. Yeah, whatever. Reese says, the man who took Carnell Williams at 5 in the 05 draft after telling Aaron Rodgers on his pre-draft visit to his face he was going to take him if he was on the board. John Niner says, I think the Raiders are going to draft QB Derek Carr is trash. They might do that. They may. I told you it's a distinct possibility that Derek Carr is playing his last season in Oakland. They owe him $15 million next year that they can get out of if they release him. But they can trade him and get something for him too. So I assume that if they really want to move on from Carr, this is the draft to do it. You got 3 first-round picks, and you may have the first pick in the draft. So if you're going to get rid of Derek Carr, this is the draft to do it. Stevie D says, I can't wait till my Raiders draft potential players and not good ones, a la Mario Edwards, Obi Melinfonwu, Jahad Ward, Darius Hayward-Bay, etc. Look, if you're drafting like that again, you're going to be bad for a really, really long time. Ron Cole III says, man, I can't wait to see what HaHa does in the Skins uni. He and DJ side by side. Watch out. Hashtag flight marshals. Raiders aren't good. Ass thrashing at its finest by the Niners. Absolutely. And with that being said, let's get the hell out of here. Raiders get their doors blown off 34-3 in San Francisco. Big ups to the 49ers for putting it to them. Big game for Nick Mullins, man. First ever start, and the man shined out, and he balled out. Got some help from the run game as the Raiders simply had no answer for the ground attack of this 49ers football team. They gave it up big last week against the Colts and Marlon Mack and company. They gave it up again big on the ground, and that led to how many times can you fall for the same bootleg? How many times can you fall for the same boot and George Kittle come wide ass open? At some point, you got to play your responsibility. Guy walks in for a touchdown, and the very next play, on the next possession, they run the same boot, and he gets open the same way and picks up a first down. Like, how many times do you have to see the same thing? They're just so undisciplined over there with the Raiders. They just don't give a shit right now. And if you don't care, I don't care. And neither should any of you. Go to sleep. Get some rest. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage. It could be. I'll see you guys later on. Enjoy your weekend. I will do the same. And then we'll reconvene on Sunday when real football takes place. I'll see you then. Have a good one.
Louie T Network.